All right, welcome back to the Atlantic Strong podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Dickens, and tonight I'm talking to one of the two women vying for the title of Atlantic Canada's Strongest Woman this Saturday at Prime Strength in Dartmouth, Allison Thorne. Nice to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So, we were just talking, only two women are competing in the open category on Saturday for Atlantic Canada's Strongest Woman. You and Lisa Wills, and I'm actually going to do a podcast with her tomorrow night. So we're going to have a profile of you and her out before the competition.
Awesome.
And you're basically going head to head for the title.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So how long have you been lifting, and what got you into strength sports?
So I started around 2012. I had been living in Scotland, or I just moved to Scotland, I should say. And basically, I was just looking to meet people. So I joined a gym. But it was sort of like a small garagey type gym. And they had weights and kettlebells and all sorts of different things. It was actually like a self-defense, kickboxing, Krav Maga gym, but it had all kinds of equipment as well. And the owner there just sort of got me into it. He sort of grouped together some like-minded other strong women, or women that wanted to be strong, and we trained together and just sort of took off from there. And one of the coaches at that gym, Drew, he was from America. He had come over and he was a weightlifting coach. And so I got my start in Olympic style weightlifting, and I did that pretty much exclusively from 2015 to 2017. And competed locally once I moved back here to Nova Scotia. And I really enjoy weightlifting. I still do weightlifting, but I hurt my hip back in 2017. And so I haven't had an opportunity to compete since then. So it's just been a couple of years of getting into it, and I just sort of fell in love with it right away. And once I started working at Prime Strength Club, I did the strongman seminar that Grant put on, and it was a lot of fun. And a couple people said, "Hey, you kind of look like you'd be good at that. You should give it a go." So that's sort of how I ended up doing it.
Did you compete a lot in weightlifting?
From 2015 to 2017, I did maybe 3 or 4 competitions a year, just locally, the ones in Halifax or I should say Nova Scotia and up in New Brunswick. Yeah.
What were your best numbers?
Oh, in competition, my best snatch was 75 kilos and clean and jerk was 92 kilos.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
So this is your first strongman competition on Saturday?
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to just being in a competitive atmosphere again. Like I said, I haven't competed in weightlifting since 2017. And that was part of the motivation for wanting to do strongman is, the weightlifting scene had largely gone online over quarantine, and there wasn't much going on. And so they've sort of gotten back up and running again, but over the summer and early spring, there was these opportunities of strongman competitions popping up. And so I thought, it'd be a good opportunity to try something new and get back into the competition scene. So figured I'd go for it.
Awesome. So let's talk about your prep for this competition, because it is Atlantic Canada's Strongest Man and Strongest Woman, so it's heavy. There's only there's only 2 women competing in the open. There's only 5 men competing in the open. So when you decided to do this competition, how did you lay out your training? And did you do that yourself, or do you have a coach?
Yeah, so I reached out to a coach because, I feel pretty comfortable programming for weightlifting, but this was something quite new. And the biggest challenge for me was that, weightlifting, there's 2 movements, right? You snatch and you clean and jerk. So with strongman, it's like there's so many possibilities. And of course, you have the event to sort of guide it. But yeah, I felt like a little bit lost with that. So I actually reached out to someone through the wonderful world of the internet. I had been following this coach on Instagram for a while actually, and actually had been thinking about reaching out to him for weightlifting programming and coaching, just to get, it's one thing to coach yourself, but it's nice to have an actual coach as well. But I noticed he also coached strongman, and some of his strong women are like incredibly strong athletic people. I thought this would be a good guy to reach out to. He definitely seems to know what he's doing. And also just the fact that he also coaches weightlifters and, trains weightlifting and strongman himself. I thought he would really have a good idea of how to apply what I already know, and make use of, the skills that I already have. So yeah, I reached out to him. His name's Alex Pagan, or Alex Jose. He's out of New York, and we've just been doing the remote thing, but through video and chat and all that sort of thing. But it's worked really well.
So how many weeks out from the competition did you start your training for this competition?
Yeah, well, so initially I was actually planning on doing the qualifier that Renfrew was going to host on September 19th. And so when I had contacted Alec, I think we were 7 weeks out from that one. So that would be 9 weeks out from this one. And so I had been training for that. And then of course that one got postponed. And kind of a blessing in disguise, because a week before that got postponed, I actually sprained my neck. So I had to take a week or two off, not completely off, but, just sort of chill a little bit. And so once that one was postponed, I said to Alec, I was like, we've already started training. I still want to do this. I said, there's another one October 3rd. So can we sort of shift focus and do it? And so that's what we did. So I guess that put us at 7 weeks out at that point.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how was your training structured leading up to this? I mean, I do pretty standard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, with some event days thrown in the weekend when I can. But I mean, you're training at prime strength. You've got access to the equipment all the time.
Yeah.
So how did you lay out your training, week to week?
Yeah. So just because of work and life and whatever, I've been doing 4 days a week, and basically each day had at least one event in it. So for example, Monday was my deadlift day. Tuesday or day 2, I guess, would have been like my log, clean and jerk, and do some work on the kegs. And then day 3 was mostly yoke, and my day 4 was frame and the other carry implements. So it's split up a little bit. And then as we got closer to competition, we shifted things around. So I actually did the carry medleys and sort of the event practice runs.
Cool. How did you set up your carry training? Did you do, more runs with a lighter weight, or did you jump right into the competition weight and just doing a few runs on each day?
Oh no, definitely lighter weight. Especially the kegs. I found the kegs super awkward. The first time I tried to run with the keg for the women's is 180, and so I tried to do the 110, and I was like, "There's no way this is happening." But fortunately, it has gotten easier each week, and learned a little bit better how to actually pick it up and hold it. But yeah, definitely the first couple weeks. I mean, our Husafel stone is already 130, so sort of had to work with that. But the sandbag, I was running with the 100-pound to start. And like I said, the keg, I think actually the first week, I think I might use the 85-pound keg and just sort of force myself to use the 110, because the diameter of it was more like the size I would be using. But yeah, that first set of runs with the kegs was a little concerning for sure. Yeah, but also, and for the logs and stuff, we're kind of spoiled. We've got 3 logs at Prime right now.
Yeah.
So we've got an 85, a 100, and a 100. We have a 160. Haven't gotten to that one yet, but yeah. So I could work my way up and sort of take it as I
You've done
roll with it.
140 for a triple on the log, haven't you?
Who told you that? Probably Instagram. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was my final testing week. That was last week. I did that for a triple.
And it's only a 120-pound log in the competition.
Yeah. So that was probably the event that came most naturally to me. I mean, as you know, I can clean and jerk with a barbell, and obviously it's different. You know, you have this big round implement to contend with, but just the being explosive and powerful leg drive and putting things over my head, that part translated obviously really, really well. So
yeah,
that was nice to be able to catch on to that.
So if the log was the easiest for you to get the hang of, what was the hardest?
Well, like I said, the keg I found really awkward, but actually I find deadlifting surprisingly hard because I think, the pull of a clean is like positionally, it's sort of like a deadlift, but it's not a deadlift.
But it's not.
It's different, right? So, in my mind, it's like, okay, pick up the weight from the floor to your hip, and my body is just going to automatically do that, like a clean pull. And so it took quite a bit of thinking, and I was on FaceTime with my coach, him cueing me, just trying to get me to move more effectively for a deadlift. So even 6 weeks later, when I set up for a deadlift, it's like there's a list of cues going through my head to try to not clean pull it, basically.
Yeah, and at least it's a max deadlift for one rep. So at least you'll only have to do the cues one time.
Yeah.
And take a break, as opposed to say doing like a deadlift for reps or axle for reps or something like that.
Yeah, no, that is good because certainly earlier in the training, when I was doing reps, it's like the first one or two looked good, and then it just kind of it gets worse from there. So single sounds good, but I'm not expecting that one to be my best event.
What are you aiming for in the deadlift? I know you guys are starting at 275 and doing 25-pound jumps or 50-pound
25-pound jumps. Yeah.
25-pound jumps.
Yeah.
So what do you think you're going to get?
I would be thrilled if I got to the third weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
That might be a bit ambitious.
And the other events, the frame hold. I mean, there's nothing. The frame hold, there's nothing to it but to do it. It's heavy. We get to use straps, and so there's not much to learn there. How have you been doing with the yoke?
I actually really love the yoke. I was kind of surprised by that. When I did that first weekend seminar with Grant, I think we started on the yoke, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of cardio. And that is not what I'm used to. But very quickly, I really enjoy it. I don't know, it just kind of came naturally to me somehow. Not really sure why, but yeah, I've really enjoyed the yoke, and I find, other than running out of breath, obviously, we have to go for a minute. That is kind of long, but yeah, no, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I saw on Instagram, you did the comp weight for a minute and did 5 or 6 runs, didn't you? Like 5 or 6 lengths?
Yeah, it was almost 6, I think. So.
Yeah. Which leads me to think that maybe that's probably a little light. They could add weight to that, but
yeah, I was a little surprised. I did think the yoke weight was a little bit light, but I also think, just by the fact alone that there's 2 girls competing and there's 5 or 6 guys competing. I don't know if they were trying to make it a little bit more accessible, but I'm glad it's light. And make it a little bit easier. But at the same time, one of the reasons that I did do this competition versus the novice competition, which I totally could have done, this is my first competition, is that I really wanted to push myself and You know, certainly the weights at the novice competition were definitely challenging, but just, you know, as a background in weightlifting, I thought, you know, I want to push it a little bit. And when the first competition I was going to do, I mean, there were events there that I wouldn't even picked up weight. For
Yeah,
sure.
the OSG qualifier that, you know, it did end up getting canceled. And you know, you see the reasoning behind it being so heavy that you know, they were taking guidance, or at least looking at the other OSG qualifiers and what it would be the official strongman games.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you don't want to have a light competition and the people that qualify go to the big one and be completely over their heads.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, the heavyweight men's weights were inaccessible for a lot of people around here, and myself included.
Yeah.
Um, this one, it's heavy, but it is definitely more accessible than, you know, I think Atlantic Canada's Strongest Man and Woman would be in a normal year. Um, and especially where it's only 5 events one day. It's a little lighter than maybe what people are used to for what's been called Atlantic Canada's Strongest Man and Woman in the past.
Hmm.
Um, but you can't criticize anybody too much because they're putting in the work to have a space for us to compete. So, you know, once again, thanks to Dave and Aaron at Prime Strength for putting this on. But the women's yoke could be heavier.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you'd like to say about your training leading up to this? Maybe trash talk your opponent a little bit. Let's really.
I will admit I've snooped Lisa on Instagram just to see what my competition is for sure, and she's definitely got the edge on the experience because she's done a couple of
Yeah.
competitions in strongman already. So I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to it. I want, you know, even though it is a smaller competition, I don't really know anyone else who's going, and I'm just kind of really looking forward to like meeting some other people in the sport. Of course, I've met a few people training at Prime, but you know, I've always loved competition day and weightlifting, and I am just going ahead and assuming that I'm going to love competition with this as well. And I think with the smaller group, you know, could be quite fun, I think.
Um, yeah, my experience competing in powerlifting and strongman is, and you know, watching Olympic weightlifting and following Olympic weightlifters on Instagram and YouTube and seeing the back room. Strongman is a little less. What's Strongman's a little less sterile
Right.
than say powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting. There's a lot more helping each other and cheering each other on and talking and helping each other warm up, and it's a good time, and you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, that's kind of the sense I got, and honestly, like I'm really, I mean, I'm looking forward to meeting Lisa. I've not met her before, and I think we're just gonna have a great time together. I hope so.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, Allison, thanks again for being on the show. Once again, thank you to Prime Strength Club for hosting and putting on Atlantic Canada's Strongest Man and Women this Saturday at 10 o'clock at their club in Dartmouth. And thanks for listening.